Let's be honest, we all want to rank up in Marvel Rivals. It's the first game in a long time that the gaming community has unanimously enjoyed, and I'm going to give you 5 easy tips you can implement today to help you get the rank that you deserve. But here's a little bonus tip. When you're in overtime, don't get off the payload. Here's a clip from one of my games the other day. Don't C9, don't C9. Huge team! We can't C9 this. Supports stay on the payload. Make sure we don't get off that. What the fuck did I say?
9.
Okay, enough with the jokes. Let's hop into the tips. Tip number 1 is targeting priority. Targeting priority is going to revolve around the backbone of every team composition. It is very hard to hold an objective without supports, and that should be no surprise. With no healing coming from your backline, your enemies are just going to be able to pick you off one by one until you're all back at the respawn screen. However, we can actually use this to our advantage. By creating priorities for the heroes we want to eliminate, we can win more team fights and consequently win more games, just by the order at which we're eliminating the enemies. So the targeting hierarchy goes like this. Supports are on the top, DPS are in the middle, and the tanks are at the bottom. Meaning the first group you should focus on when you're heading into your fights is supports. After the supports are taken out, you can proceed to the DPS, who should fall quickly with no healing. And now it's just the tanks, which will die quickly because now your whole team is focusing on just the tanks because everyone else is dead. So they'll either have to retreat or die. That's the ideal team fight. However, not every time will it go in your favor. Sometimes the tanks will be diving you. You'll have Star-Lord flying around. In these scenarios, you're better off just trying to isolate targets from their team and getting picks. Targeting priority can't win you all the fights. Nothing can. But if you can follow it, you will likely win more games and you're that much closer to ranking up. Tip number 2 is kind of simple, and it's learning at least one of every role. We've all been there, loading in and 4 of your teammates insta-lock DPS. They argue and eventually 2 switch off, but your team is at a disadvantage now because these 2 that switched off only know how to play DPS. This is detrimental and is surely to lose you some games. If you're in a 6 stack, it obviously doesn't matter as much, but anything less and you should know at least 2 if not all 3 roles. Even learning just one hero in each puts you ahead of a bunch, especially in the low ranks where inexperienced teams may run with awful team comps. As for the comp you should be running, it kind of depends, but a good one you should follow is 2-2-2, where you have 2 healers, 2 supports, and 2 tanks. Because it's just the most well-rounded. However, triple healer has been very strong at the start of the season, so we'll see how that plays out. Alright, on to tip 3. But before that, make sure you subscribe and leave a like if you enjoy these tips and you want to see more Marvel Rivals content. Tip number 3 is going to focus on positioning. Many of us can relate to being trapped by an enemy and dying because you don't have any mobility. But what if I told you there was a way you could prevent this? For some reason, I don't see enough players playing behind cover. They play behind their tanks, sure, but walls and corners are easy to position near, and you'll likely find one within close proximity to your team. By using cover effectively, you can control engagements on your teams. Instead of running out in the open and hoping for the best, positioning yourself near walls, corners, or head glitches allows you to limit the angles enemies can shoot at you, while giving you a clean shot at them. This is especially useful in gunfights where reaction time matters. Peeking in and out of cover makes you much harder target to hit, while the enemies are left exposed if they're out in the open. Another key benefit of cover is that it gives you a quick escape option. If you take a lot of damage, you can duck behind cover, get healed, and re-engage when you're ready. And yet, I still see players running around the map with no awareness of their surroundings, making themselves easy targets. If you want to win more fights and survive longer, start using the cover around you. Trust me, pay attention to it, it makes a huge difference. Tip number 4 is learning ultimate economy. Ultimate economy refers to the way that your team and your enemy's team's ultimates compete. If you both have a cloak and dagger, they will likely get it at around the same time, and one will probably use it to counter the other. However, if your team has a Magneto, the cloak and dagger will be able to get killed easily by the Magneto ult. You need to learn the different ways ultimates can counter each other, and what ults can work well together. You also want to keep a mental note of what ults have been used and what ults the enemy team will likely have. If you guess what ults the other team has, you can prepare for what the counters your team might have. Also, if you have time on the clock, it might be a good idea for a fake push. The purpose of a fake push is to bait out as many ults as possible without actually going all in. The purpose of a fake push is to bait out as many ults as possible without actually going all in and using your own team's ults. By doing this, you will be way more likely to win the next fight, as your team didn't use any ults, so you have a bunch. But only do this if you have time to spare. And if you're getting picks during the fake push, you can always just go all in and start using ults. Remember, communication is key, and if you communicate with your teammate, you will be more likely to win. That's a fact. And now on to tip number 5, which is kind of generic, but play smart, not hard. If your team is losing, your best course of action might just be to figure out why you're losing. It seems simple. Maybe the team is just better than you, but it is in your benefit to go a little bit deeper than that. Why aren't you winning team fights? Are they out healing your damage? Are you giving away free picks? There are numerous reasons that your team might win fights that you can actually change mid-game. Say for example, the healers are out healing your damage. The healers are absolutely cracked, and you guys can't seem to get any picks. Well, maybe one of your tanks switches to Venom and dives the healers, causing them to fall back or even killing one of them. This will put your team at an advantage and allow your team to get picks and win more fights, possibly changing the outcome of the game. My main point here is if you're losing, there's always a reason why, and sometimes your best bet is to learn and adapt to what isn't working and find something that will work. Also, you can learn from these experiences and provide yourself a better basis for the future and reach the rank we all know you deserve. Thanks for watching this shorter video. If y'all want to see more Marvel Rivals content, make sure you subscribe to my channel and like the video if you could. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, that's been all for me. Peace out.
I can do this with my eyes closed.